This genius idea took the total assembly time from 12 hours down to just 90 minutes, with a new car leaving the factory every 40 seconds. In order to make the Model T available to the masses, Ford had spent the entire year rearranging machinery and setting up assembly lines with one goal: make as many cars as possible. All of the fixed costs, like the factory and machines, stayed basically the same no matter how many cars they produced. And so the more cars they made, the cheaper it would be per car. But although Ford had optimized the assembly of thousands of parts, the final cars were still being assembled at stationary workbenches. And this quickly became the bottleneck for the entire production. And so, in 1914, Ford set up the holy grail of factory efficiency, the final assembly line. The idea was simple. All of the sub-assembly lines would feed a constant supply of finished parts into the final assembly line, where they would be mounted onto the chassis as it moved through the factory. The entire assembly process was studied and broken down into 45 individual steps, assigned to 140 workers and spread out across the line. Here's how it worked. Basic chassis would leave a sub-assembly line and enter the start of the final assembly line, where they would get pulled along by a chain-driven sled. As the chassis moved down the line, workers added the front and rear axles, and soon after, the gas tanks, which were conveniently rolled down a chute from a sub-assembly line above. Further down the line, the engine would be dropped into place from an overhead rail that fed the workers with a constant supply of finished engines. The dashboard, steering, exhaust, and pedals would all come together in a quick sequence of tasks. Finished wheels from the sub-assembly line would drop down holes in the floor, and 2 workers would attach all 4 wheels to the car. The radiators were stored in a raised platform above and would slide down a chute ready for the workers to install. For work that had to be done underneath the car, special creepers were made that could clamp onto the chassis as it moved. This meant that workers could lie down and work on the car with both hands as they got pulled along. After 44 steps, the cars would be driven off the assembly line under their own power onto another assembly line outside the factory. Just above the final assembly line was the body shop. Here, all of the body parts were stamped and assembled into a lightweight piece and moved outside to a platform. The finished chassis would move under this platform, and the body would be lowered on top, completing the entire assembly in just 90 minutes.